everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to learn how to solve for quadratic inequalities. So here we have an inequality equation here, and let's pause for a moment and notice how this equation looks. If you just look at it, it seems something familiar, right? It looks like the quadratic equation, like the standard form. ax squared plus bx plus c. It looks something like this, right? Let's say if I turn this into an equal sign, the first thing you would do is probably to reorder it, right? So how do you reorder it? By putting everything on one side. So x squared minus 4x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So at this stage, you don't really have to worry too much about the inequality sign. The first step that you want to do is first reorder it, okay? And then second, you want to factor it in order to solve for the x values. So if you factor it, you get the x-intercepts, which are x minus 1, x minus 3. And then we can say x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 3. Now you may have noticed that I used an equal sign instead of the inequality sign. That's because if you use the inequality sign, it is a big no-no. You do not want to use this because it is a huge mistake. I know a lot of students make these mistakes on the test, and it is really dangerous because this is not what you want to do. If you say x is less than or equal to 1, and then x is less than or equal to 3, that's absolutely wrong. You don't want to do that. So now that we have the x values, we want to first draw a number line so that we get a clear picture of what's going on. So on the number line, I have 1 and 3. And what we want to do is find in these ranges, we want to find whether the y values are positive and negative. So we know that 1 and 3 are the x values, so you want to find the y values, whether it is positive or negative. So I'm sure it might sound confusing now, so let's just walk through it, and later I'll further explain why we're doing this. So let's just say from the range from 1 to 3, I want to see whether the y value is going to be positive or negative. So what I'm going to do is choose any number from 1 to 3 and then plot that number into the equation. So let's say from 1 to 3 I choose 2. So if I choose 2, I'll say x is equal to 2. So 2 minus 1, 2 minus 3. And here, if you want to be quick, you can just find whether the value is going to be positive or negative. You don't need to find the exact number. You don't need to find the exact value of this when you plot x as 2. You want to just find whether it's positive or negative. So I'd say 2 minus 1 is a positive number, and then 2 minus 3 is a negative number, and when I multiply it, I get a negative. So I can just put it on top here that from 1 to 3, the number is negative. Now let's try this range over here. So 3 or above. Let's say I choose 5. So 5 minus 1 times 5 minus 3, I get a positive number and another positive number, which is equal to another positive number. So I could just put that as positive. And then on the other hand, for any number below 1, I want to choose, let's say negative 2. If it's negative 2, I want to see whether it's positive or negative. And I get negative, another negative, which becomes a positive. So here, we finished drawing our number line, and this is like a map for our understanding of what's happening. And to further simplify things, let me just draw or sketch a simple graph of this equation here. So we know that x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 3. So we can kind of see that's the x-intercepts. And then we know that this equation here, the a value would be 1, which is positive, so it would open upwards. So it would kind of look something like this. And when you take a look at this graph, look closely. It really connects, this graph here really connects with this number line here. And basically, I want to highlight the ranges. So we have 1 and 3, right? Here, we also have 1 and 3. So let me just sketch that part as yellow. And then for green, guess which part is it going to be? Is it going to be this part here, or is it going to be this part here? You're right, it's going to be 3 or above. And then on the other hand, any number below 1 would be this. So you can kind of see how it's very similar, the number line, how it connects with the graph here. And what you can see with the positive and negative, we can see that the y values from 1 to 3 is negative. Anything between the x value 1 and 3 is going to be negative for the y value. And then for any number that is like bigger than 3, we could see that the y value is positive. The same goes for any number that is below the number 1 is also positive. So you can see this connection here, which is the reason why it's very important to draw a number line so that we can get a clear picture of what's going on. And so now that we fully understand what's happening, what's our final answer? So our final answer is going to be, here you can see that the equation says x minus 1 times x minus 3 is going to be less than or equal to 0. So now, before I said you don't really need to care so much about the inequality, but towards the end, it is very important to note about the inequality sign. So we have this equation here has to be less than or equal to 0. So that means the equation has to be negative, right? It's less than or equal to 0, which means it has to be negative. So here, which part here is negative? That's right, from the range 1 and 3. And you notice how I put a point there and I circled it in. Remember, on the number line, it's very important to state whether it's open circle or closed circle. Remember, if it's open circle, it means that it is less than or greater than. If it's closed circle, it means less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, right? So we put closed circle because it is less than or equal to. We have the thing here, so it has to be closed circle. And then we can say that from 1 to 3, the equation is negative. So how do we put that in terms of like our answer? Do we just do it like this on the number line? Well, you want to put it more clearly by saying that when x is greater than 1 and less than or equal to 3, you can see that between 1 and 3 basically means when x is greater than 1 and when x is less than 3. That basically means, oh, we have a specific range for the equation to be negative. So thank you for watching. I hope you all have a better understanding of how to solve for quadratic inequalities. Thank you.